Joey. This week I'm joined by Neil.
Hello.
By Dom.
Hello there.
And by Imogen.
Hi, Joey.
Look, 13 years, right, Neil? You said this to me.
Correct.
Right up top, yeah? I thought about doing the hilarious intro of, we're out of the cup. Ha ha ha. We haven't acknowledged all the good stuff that's happened. But God, we're tired, aren't we? Let's actually just, without the cynicism, without the kind of snarkiness, this is nice, isn't it? This is all very nice, right?
I definitely prefer it. There's stuff which I didn't like in the past, so we will take this.
Yes, I don't know. Now, I don't know if any of you are history buffs, but we used to have owners called Sisu. S-I-S-U.
Yeah.
Now, you know how when you go to games now, there's people there. Well, that wasn't the case a little time ago. For anybody for listeners, let's call it what it is. Listeners of a certain age, and it has got quite a lot better, hasn't it? And I think most people would agree that buying the stadium is probably a good move, right?
These are very Rob Gurney-ish sort of questions. Like, what is the answer to that?
Very leading.
Yeah,
Neil, I'm not being sarcastic or anything. You look like you've got questions over it.
What? What on earth? What are you saying? I have no questions. I'm delighted. Funny enough, I was looking at one of the YouTube videos the day before it all happened, and one of the comments was, "Oh, where's all the Victor Gyökeres and Louis Binks money gone? I bet Doug's pocketed it all." And I read that, and I wrote a very, very long tweet that I was about to post out, just explaining where the money has gone, and also the fact that 15 million quid kind of went into the club over the summer. We don't know what's happened to that. And then the day after, we bought a stadium, so it saved me a job. But yeah, that was I'm very happy. You know, I'm very happy that it was a bit surreal because you're so used to not having a stadium. You're told you've got one, and you're like, this is all right. And then I'm buying my chicken botty pie, and I just know, cha-ching, Doug's getting all the money. Lovely days.
I'm trying to be, because my heart's been hurt before. I am trying to be Doug skeptic, but there's a lot of, even outside of buying the stadium and things like that, there's a lot about the way that he talks that I quite like. And to your point there about where's the Gyökeres and Binks money gone, is he did address this recently and was like, you do realise that we run the club at a massive loss, and realistically we'd have to even when we sold Gyökeres and Hamer, it doesn't really matter. That's not what, do you get what money is?
Yeah, just like fans talking football money is not a conversation you want to be involved in. Like,
if players are getting bought, it's not because we sold Louis Biggs, it's because I'm buying them. Like, it's all money out of my pocket, basically. Do you get that?
Like last season, when everybody was going mad about signing Matty James for just a couple of months cover, Matty James, who would have needed a year contract and who would have probably been on good money, it's like, I don't think Douglas is going to want to spend £500,000 on a contract for that man for the season just to back up for a little while. Yeah, just didn't make
this
much
idea
sense.
that the economics of a football club are no more complicated than the net spend. Right, okay, well look, let's start with, it seems, our cup runneth over in terms of moments of the week, right? Who would like to start?
I want Imogen's.
Mine.
Yeah.
Well, personally, it was the Torp goal against QPR, because we were right behind it, and directly between me and Monsieur Torp was my boss Clive, formerly mentioned on this noble podcast. You know Clive, QPR Clive. And to watch that man crumple as that goal went in was I did feel a bit sorry for him, actually. And he just turned to me, block 19, and he turned around.
Bearings.
opposite the dugout.
We've been there
Right.
for 20 years, but I'm the same as you do. I don't know what the names of the stands are, and I don't know
No.
what the blocks are.
People are like, oh, the North Stand's looking busy today. Yeah, yeah.
Which
Sure.
didn't bring my compass,
the
I'm afraid,
compass out,
so I'm
yeah.
not sure.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. He turned around to me and said, "I fucking hate football," and I was like, "I know, babes. I know it's hard. Been there, but actually, I don't think we have. I don't remember being beaten 7-1. Not a game that I've been to. I've definitely done like
No.
a 4-0 at half time, but I don't remember a 7-1.
No, I can't think of us getting beaten 7-1. 7. I've never heard 7. Have we had a 6 with our Yeovil, haven't we?
6-2
Yeah,
against
6-2 Yeovil. I was definitely there.
Yeah.
That was the Max Biamu.
I remember a particularly dispiriting 5-0 home defeat against West Brom in a cup.
Yes,
It
I
as
was
close as
there.
I'd
Yeah,
ever
that
come
was
to walking
near
out
Christmas.
of a game,
Yeah.
because it was just like 60 minutes in, you're already 5-0 down on everyone, and you're just like, what is the point of any of this?
Yeah, that was bad.
7-1 is problematic.
Yeah.
I tell you a game that it resembled the other way around. If we're going to do this, does anyone remember the game that we got beat 5-1 by Tranmere at Sixfield?
Yes.
I walked out of that game and I was a bit like, I don't even think we've done that badly, right? Because they just scored 5 exceptional goals. That was Ryan Lowe got a hat trick that day, weren't it? And I was a bit like, now QPR were dog shit. I'm not saying that. But if I was a QPR fan, I'd be like, look, there's lots of problems with the way that we played, and there's lots of things that Coventry did really well. But we had an XG of, I know this is a hot potato, of like, 1.3 or something. We did pretty well with a lot of our chances. Like, Torp's goals are not, sitters, are they?
No, he shouldn't be scoring them.
No, it was a lovely old, it's just a lovely old day, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was lovely. I did turn to him at half time and said, look, I've been here. I'm sure we were 4-0 down at Rotherham at half time. And he said, what happened second half? I was like, it was 0-0. You'll be all right. And then almost as soon as the restart happened, I was like, I can only apologise. We don't usually do this. And I'm sure it won't happen again.
Have we done much Torp chat yet?
Oh, what the man is having the biggest renaissance. Derby, I said, this has got to be his best ever game for the club. And then he did QPR. He's just phenomenal.
I know,
where's this come from?
And now he thinks he's
Shirt,
brilliant. And he actually is brilliant. Even the other night, Millwall, he came on. He was just playing, I'm just going to be brilliant now with Radoni. We're better than this lot on the pitch. And he just believes he's fantastic now.
It's not even a French tuck either. It's a full, the whole shirt is in. He means business.
But
he knows.
Such an expressionless face at all times. Even when he was doing the Klaus celebration, it looked like it was under duress for some reason. The budding romance of goal celebrations between him and Ephraim Mason-Clark I find fascinating. Them two seem like their best buds, which is sartorially more interesting than anything else, because he booked the trend in pre-season by looking like he'd just come from an Offspring concert. And then Ephraim Mason-Clark is very well documented as the worst dressed person I've ever seen. I'd like to see more. We've talked before. I'd like to see more content from the club of this nature. Anything that I could get that involves those two sitting together and talking would be right up my alley. Thank you. Torp is just such a strange player. For me, every time that I've seen him this season, he has scored those goals, but also at times looked completely amateurish. I just think he's been brilliant overall. But there's moments where you just think, I don't know what you are really. I love him. I'm really, really loving him. But he's just like an enigma to me. I love it.
I think it's going to change. I got a feeling he's going to go a bit mad and be sensational for a little while. Just watching the way he's kind of carrying himself last couple of games. It's just like, this is the version of you the imaginary version that we had in our head of this guy who was just got everything, the full package. He's his 6'2" guy who's strong and got brilliant technique, but he never used to get involved, did he? He was just sauntering around the pitch, and now he's kind of involved a lot, and he looks really good when he's involved a lot.
Well, we're jumping ahead because I'm conscious that we've only done one moment of the week, but while we're on Torp, there is something to be said here for the sort of dynamic working of Torp, Radoni and Grimes, and the fact that, obviously we've done Grimes chat to death. I thought, as you'd probably expect, I thought Grimes was up there for man of the match for me against QPR. And it was the first time where I could really, really see in a team that's dominating possession, you're like, that's the guy. That's the guy that I keep hearing about. Like every loose ball was his. He pushed us right up the pitch. He set the tone. Everything that people talk about in that game, I was like, right, this is what's happened because we controlled possession and controlled the game so much. Could really see it. But I'm telling you this now, it works better with Torp rather than Sheaf. A million times better. And you can argue whether Sheaf is a better player than Torp. Dynamically, that 3 is a much, much more effective 3 than having Sheaf in there instead. I think that's a brave call from Lampard, but it's one that's really fucking worked out. But again, it goes back to that thing that we talked about a million times of you just want a cohesive team rather than your best 11 players on the pitch.
What do you mean it's a brave call?
Sheaf, he's captain at the very least, isn't he?
Yeah, but isn't he not injured?
No, but he started the season with Torp ahead of him.
I see what you mean. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant for the QPR game. I was like,
yeah. No, sorry.
As you were. Continue with your story.
Fine, thank you. No, I think I'm done for once. Moments of the week, Dom.
Yeah, I think I want to admit that before the kickoff on Saturday, I basically couldn't speak. I was so emotional about it, just thinking of everything we've been through to get to this point. You remember Northampton, where we've gone to this car park 30 miles away from Coventry, and we can't even fill that stadium. You're just like, what is the way forward for this? And then just throughout like the past 12 years, especially that whole saga where you're just like, how can it be possible for this football club not just to own its stadiums, but actually be in this kind of rude health where it's full, it's an amazing day, people want to be there, it's loud, and the stadium's just a great place to be. We were basically living this dream that we thought was impossible. I know, for me, certainly the majority of the time I spent supporting Coventry, I've kind of seen it kind of just like this obligation, and kind of like, oh well, you have good seasons, you have bad seasons, but for it to get this good, to build that point on Saturday where we've just got, it just feels like, we've got the whole world at our feet almost. So I think we've been through so much crap, and you think about everyone who's been involved in this saga, like Sisu, the council. You had that prat from the council who was trolling people on Twitter for ages, who really wound me up. Not even going to name.
Just the cutting. It's right.
Just all those years where we just spent arguing about politics to do with football and court cases and all that crap. And you were just watching a team of cast-offs and youth team players who barely looked old enough to get served at a bar. And to get to this point where we're in the Championship and we sense blood against a team that's slightly worse than us, and we absolutely smack them, and the stadium's completely sky blue, and it's bouncing and it's loud, and this stadium used to be the absolute blueprint of a crap football stadium, and you look at it now and it's just absolutely incredible. And just think about what it's taken to bring us to this point, the journey with Mark Robbins, and then what Doug King's done over the last few years to take what was a good hand that he inherited and turn it into something now where it just feels like there's so much potential still for this football club, and we're very close to achieving a goal of getting in the Premier League and actually sticking around there at some point. That just looked completely impossible for much of the past 2 decades, 3 decades, really.
Sort of feel like we should just end things there. I
kind of like that.
I might just copy that and then paste it onto the end of whatever we say, because we're probably going to talk for an hour and a lot of it's going to be nonsense and that bit will be forgotten. So I'll just stick that on at the end and then people will go, actually, that was quite good. I think there's probably a period 10 years ago where you wonder how the Rico, as such as it was, could ever recover from the horrors that we've seen. And it just, like you say, all the backdrop and everything, and it's remarkable how quickly that can be washed away in the way that it has been. But I think that's not to then downplay the elements and the roles that people like Body and Robbins and Vivash and King and, dare I say it, Frank, who've, like, that's good work, isn't it?
Yeah. I think
I'll leave that one there. Neil, moment of the week.
Yeah, obviously it's what Dom said, but I guess specific secondary moment of the week was I don't know if anybody watched the Doug King press conference, which took place like an hour before kickoff on Saturday, but we saw it on Sunday. And it was just 10 minutes of him basically taking a few questions about what got done. And even though it's kind of been a bit of a love-hate relationship with Douglas based on obviously some of the stuff that went on last year, when I remove the emotion from it, I listen to the stuff he says, and I listen to you look at the decisions he's made around the football club, and he knows what he's doing, doesn't he? I mean, I'm not a cynic in life, so I can't be like the other people. You've got to have people, he's still Sisu, he's just doing it to make a quick buck, all this sort of stuff. Like, I don't believe all that stuff. I just believe he's a bloke who's made some business decisions, and he's made quite a few good ones, and to take us from where we were, which was actually a really good place under what Mark Rums was doing, and that gave him the platform to be able to do some of this stuff, but then to build on it to make us, we feel like a real grown-up club now, like not just the football team, like we're talking the stuff behind the scenes, like the way the training ground has been sorted, the way that the commercial side of it is just completely different now. Some of the big names some of the quality people that he's brought into the business side of things who have done good jobs elsewhere, like we just didn't have that before. And now the stadium, I don't know how quickly we'll turn that around into something that's very much our own, but it feels like it's kind of our own already, like the work they've done over the last couple of years inside, internally, the way the atmosphere around the stadium is. So, I just watched that video and listened to him talk, and I recommend people listen to it just because he's just got a good mind for business, which is pretty handy. And you remove all the nonsense about what fans think about, you just have to spend a load of money. I do trust him, and that's a really grand thing to say about some businessman, but I do trust that he's going to make some smart decisions, and he's already put us into a good position now. So whatever happens in the future, we're reasonably solid from that perspective. So yeah, that was my moment of the week. Just listen to more of what he had to say and feeling good about it. He will continue to make decisions that I don't necessarily agree with, and he'll make ones that I do agree with. But in terms of the bigger picture, good work. That's what I think.
I mean, that's a big old... we're less than 12 months down the road from, I think you'd have probably strangled him at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Well, it's not, and I don't think it's not a heel turn, is it? There's good reason for, and I think all of these things, time will tell. He could also get bored at some point. We could not get promoted for 2 years. He could get bored, and then he could try and sort of aggressively pull his money out, and then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But you're right. Everything at the moment doesn't look like it's going that way. And whether it succeeds or fails, you can't help but look at it and go, this all seems like what you'd do, right? Like, this is good. Like you say, this is good work, isn't it? And it's the only thing that keeps coming back to is I just don't understand why.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other question. Yeah.
Well, presumably he sells as we get promoted. Which brings me to this point about he keeps talking about the 3 out of 5 seasons in the playoffs.
Well,
I don't follow that. And
It's
and
pretty
what?
arbitrary.
Yeah,
Well, but-
it just doesn't really make any sense.
No, I mean, the
Surely
worry
you
for
want
me
like
is-
promotion within 5 years. You know, if we
But the
get
worry-
playoffs and don't get it this year, then were you happy for a 15th and 16th? What?
but the,
Doesn't make sense.
but the other question is, so it's 3 and 5. Great.
Yeah.
We get 4 in 5 for argument's sake, and we don't go up. What
Yeah.
happens after 5 years?
Then what? Yeah.
He has
Like
said
what?
though, like he's kind of picked that up. It's a bit of a wanky thing to talk about, but he was always going on about the journey. When in one of his earlier things, he was like we might get 5 years down the road, and we've got close. And mate, if we don't get it, okay, we don't get it, but we've done the right things to get there, and we've had a good time doing it. Not to put words. That's me paraphrasing what he said before.
Yeah, of
So
course.
it's been said. He's not gonna. I don't think he's going to lose his mind. Let's say if we make 4 out of 5, like that's sometimes you can't win the playoffs. I think that side of things might not
Yeah, of course.
go quite as
But
much.
also, I also think that people should, like, we've all got to be careful about how much we like. His word isn't. He doesn't know what's going to happen in them 3 years.
Yeah,
Like, the whole economic footballing landscape could change in such a dramatic way that things become economically unviable at a certain point. Or conversely, might be things put in place that make it more like, you know, he shouldn't. You can only really go off what you know today, and football changes very dramatically, doesn't it? You don't know what the future holds, and I guess you can't necessarily blame him for if things change. That's fine, but or does he chancery it and kind of just at some point go nope? Then you're like, oh, okay, that's a problem. You can have that with anybody, couldn't you? That's not a criticism inherent in
That's
him.
money, isn't it? Yeah.
That's the nature of business, and that's the wretched thing about football is that it's not conducted by and they're led by stewards per se, is it? It is by people who want to make it a business, but that is what it is, and there's no point talking about that because.
But at least in the meantime, we've done at we've got a new stadium, and we've done at the training ground, and we've done all the stuff. At least that is still there.
And it was lovely to
fundamentally-
hear him talking, and for my money, at the very least, it sounded genuine. That when he was saying it, was what he was saying was that this gives us an opportunity to, like, tart the stadium up and like make it a better experience for people, and like to make the changes. And they've done bits of it already, haven't they? The turnstiles and blah 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 blah. But that, like, what he was talking about was, and again, to be a bit wanky to use your phrase there, Neil, is like it's the match day experience for people. And, you know, my preference would be that I was knee deep in piss everywhere, but I know I'm probably a minority in that. Families would like a nicer stadium to go to that has got fewer queues and a better match day experience outside the ground and things like that. And that has been proven to be terribly popular because our attendances have doubled in the last 5 years or whatever, haven't they? But I think there's no such thing as true altruism. But if someone is looking to capitalize on the club, I'm glad that he seems to be doing it in a way that's really nice and pleasant and, you know, like is community spirited, isn't it? So it's the best you could possibly hope for at this moment in time, of course.
Yeah, and I think what we do is we just apply that caveat that you've just put there. Let's say that's always in place. Always. Whatever we say at this point, we always know that at any given time, things might go right. His other business might mess up, and he's got no more money left, and then we'll start hating him again because that's football fans. But, you know, he's doing it. He's made some good decisions. He's done some good stuff. Can't knock it.
I'm going to round up with my moment of the week, if that's okay, because my big obsession with football at the minute is, I'm talking constantly to Maris about this, is the more that time has gone on, the more it seems to the modern football fan that what happens on the pitch is a sort of significant inconvenience to the nature of being a football fan, i.e. transfers, tittle-tattle, kind of banter and all of that nonsense. And actually 90 minutes on the pitch is some sort of kind of irrelevance. And my feelings on how I'd like to see football take place on the pitch, like, aggressive, ruthless, like just really dominant, like horrible. I just take the scoreline out of it and take the goals out of it. Is that QPR game, the first 20 minutes where they realised mentally that if they played it short, we'd score. And if they played it long, Grimes would pick it up and then we would have another shot. And the players looking like seeing them getting a goal kick and then looking at each other and being like, what do we do? Like, what's the we haven't prepared for this because we've got a goal kick and we're almost certain that within a minute it's going to be a Coventry chance. Is that watching a team crumble like that because of how well we were set up and the energy and the intensity in which we played and how like just devastatingly effective our pressing was and everything. It just, and I know QPR were bad, but I really do think we made them look worse than they were. I'm not sure they're that bad. I'll look to Dom overall here as to, I've got a feeling that they're doing a bit of a Russell Martin job of, are these guys as well equipped to play this style of football that he's asking them to do? But that we just, we were just violent to watch.
You called it as well, though. 10 minutes in, you're like, "This could be anything," and and it very much was anything. It was just insanely good.
They just couldn't. They just couldn't get near the ball. And I mentioned Grimes before. Every time they went long, he just pulled it out of the sky, which is a really, really, really damning indictment of their strikers. And they looked better when is he called Kone? Was it that lad from Wickham?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that he'd gone there.
Yeah.
Did you say during the game, Dom, that the striker that they started with, the QPR fans already on the back of, did he smash that long range shot in the first half? It was a total waste of what could have been a bit of a break.
It was their players who were absolutely furious at him. There was visible moments where you could just see them going like, "You need to run here, you need to do this," and you're not doing it. You look like a guy who's had half a good season at Burton, which you are.
Is that what they said?
No, but yeah, it was.
I feel like your voice done that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it was quite fun watching the QPR's players' reaction because the first goal, Steve Cook and Sam Field were absolutely adamant that should be disallowed, and you watch it back, you're like,
yeah, they were. Yeah,
well, I think it's for Brandon Thomas's Sante being offside in the line of the goalkeeper. I don't even think he is, but like Sam Field was not. He's not. He was like in the linesman's space for a good like at least 30 seconds. And then after they conceded the second goal, they had this big huddle on the halfway line.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah,
to try and like, we're going to sort this out. We're going to sort this out, and they nearly conceded a third straight from the kickoff.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm saying at some point it was like it's almost worse that I don't think QPR ever really completely gave up during that. There was like spells when it was like 2 or 3 down where they were having a go, but they were just so toothless, and then combined with being hapless in defence and a goalkeeper who I don't think will play for the club again.
no.
You watch there's like an angle of like both of Victor Torp's goals from behind the goal, and you just see how poorly positioned the goalkeeper is. But yeah, it wasn't like
some critics are calling it Collins-esque. Is that
yeah.
I mean, to concede 7 goals from 1.2 XG or whatever it is, which again, caveat, blah, 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 blah. It's not, even if you don't believe in XG, you'd have to admit that's not great, right? the quality of your goalkeeper probably plays a part in some of that, right?
Yeah. But I remember like when we thrashed Rotherham, was it 5 or 6 a couple of years ago? That was just like two or 3 goals went in and they just gave up. It was just like they offered nothing, but QPR kept going, and that is almost more dispiriting, you'd imagine, for them, where it's like we tried our hardest and our hardest led to us getting battered even more than if we'd actually tried to stem the damage. Like Plymouth tried to do the same on Boxing Day last year and they got out with a 3-0.
What I think that was one of the things that was so nice about it for me is that when QPR did try and do something different, or did try, is we looked like we were like that's nice. This is how we're going to deal with that. Would you like to try something else? Why not try going wider or longer if you want? It's fine. We've got you by the balls, and no matter what you want to do, we're completely in charge here. There is one thing that I wanted to mention though, and this is going to sound like a criticism, but I don't really necessarily mean it to be. It was just something that I was particularly fascinated by. Is, like I say, the first 20 minutes felt like a mental stranglehold above anything else, where the players for QPR just, like I say, those goal kicks just felt like they took so long, even though they didn't physically, just because they just looked like they just didn't want to do anything with it because they knew it was going to be difficult. Then all of a sudden things changed on about 20-25 minutes when Kitching made that mistake, and all of a sudden they got a bit of a wind behind them. More than anything, what I thought was fascinating was just in the context of that is it goes to show you, we talk about vibes sort of half jokingly, but that, like, I think in that first 20 minutes, there was something about that game where QPR was like, I don't know, I don't think we can do anything here. Then all of a sudden we make one mistake and they're like, oh, they make mistakes. They're fallible. We can have it. And all of a sudden it just completely, admittedly, unfortunately for them, only for about 7 minutes, but it did change the complexion of the game. Like all of a sudden it had gone from a point where it felt like we got our foot on their neck. Sorry, gross. But then all of a sudden it just turned into a bit of a normal game. But then, of course, we completely dominated. But I just thought that was a really fascinating kind of football-y thing of that a game could turn so quickly because you go, hang on a second, they can be got at. Like there is something like if we don't need to give up here because something can happen.
We know
been
that.
A bit of a theme, though.
Sorry,
no, go on. I was just going to say it's a bit of a theme running through the last 3 games with Derby and QPR and Millwall a couple of nights ago. If they work out that they can get to our defence, the world is their fucking oyster because we don't have one. It's just bleak back there, scintillating up front, a party in the front, and something rather more sinister at the back.
The team is a reverse. It's a mullet, basically, isn't it?
It is. Yes, exactly so. Business in the front and disaster at the back. Yeah, I'm very, very deeply concerned about our defence.
Yeah, I don't want to be too. Let's call it in my line of work. You would call it developmental feedback when somebody is actually horrendous. You have to tell someone about it. But the Liam Kitching, who if we're talking about developmental, has come on leaps and bounds, shall we say?
Correct.
But does often demonstrate having not learned anything also.
Yes.
And I really do love Bobby Thomas. I just don't want to ever see him pass a ball ever again.
Oh my God, the chaos. I mean, Derby away was a really long 90 minutes. You look at the score and you think, what a fun away day. No, it wasn't. It was very stressful. Plus the fact we didn't actually get to celebrate properly until the 4th goal because the first one sort of just like farted itself into the goal. And then there was the penalty 2 or 3? Penalty was 2.
2, yeah.
You don't celebrate a penalty in the same way. And then the 3rd was at the other end and we couldn't really see that it gone in. So it was a really delayed response. It wasn't until that beauty of a 4th goal from Efron that we lost our shit. But it was insane. So obviously set pieces have been a bit of a theme in the I was going to say the press, but I mean in Rob Gurney's mind this week. And we at Derby away, the fans were all singing about set piece again, ole, sort of mocking Derby for failing to score. And you look at their goals and you're like, oh, that's 2. 2 are definitely from set pieces. And then Millwall, they were bad. Yeah. And QPR, yeah. So all of the goals that we've conceded have had an element of set piece to them. And that to me seems weird. I mean, surely that's something you would practice, would you not think?
Well, hang on a second. So to me, weird. Yes. To you, weird. To Andy Turner, no. as I pointed out earlier in the week, who really bafflingly wrote that we seem to be having a really bad time at set pieces, but that, of course, is not to criticise the centre-backs. You're like, well, well, what does that mean then? What?
They're kind of involved.
Well, that would be. They're obviously not the only part to play, but it's quite a big part.
Yeah, it's quite significant.
Did you see the reaction to the Millwall goal? I watched the replay again, and it was Kai Andrews who bore the brunt of it.
Yeah,
he kind of wasn't. And then Bidwell not only kind of had a go at him on the match, but then afterwards, very kind of pointed, I think, comment about people not wanting it enough. And it was, I think, there's a little.
I think that's unfair. There were two defenders past him after he chested it, and the goalkeeper who appeared to have done nothing. So I don't really see that that's entirely fair.
Yeah, I think it was a split second. It just seemed to be a split second of not being quite as alert as he could have been. And my defense of him is, I don't quite know what you do with the ball when it comes to you at chest height there. I don't quite know what he was going to do, but yeah, he got some grief from Bidwell, Wilson. But what was funny is they did it, and then they realised who they were shouting at, and they very quickly stopped having a go at him. It's like, oh, actually, he's a kid. Let's not have a go at him too much. But yeah, second string. I don't think that was so much a second string issue, was it? It was more of a set pieces.
Yeah,
Sorry, go on, Imogen, go.
No, just on the second string. We were talking about this just before we started recording, but that's a very loose string, isn't it? That's not the taut,
not all at once.
That's not the taut tightrope that the first team are offering us. No, it's distinctly saggy.
I don't mind any of them. Like, you go over there, but the rest can say, but all of them at once is a bit
all
much.
of them bad.
So one of the nice things about as a kind of totem of the difference between the first team and the second team was during that game, me and Neil were arguing about the performance of Ellis Sims and how he'd done. And I don't think what I'm about to say proves either of us right or wrong necessarily. And actually, the more I talked to you, the more I was bought into what you were saying. I thought he played poorly. You thought that he'd done well under difficult circumstances. But then Wright came on and you were like, that's what a striker looks like. Forget the level to which he's played. He's played loads better. Like a lot.
Sorry, Ellis.
Yeah, that is true. There were miles between them. But Sims did play, he worked really hard. And there was a lot of running off the ball. He won a lot of free kicks.
I'd work really hard.
We haven't always had that. And it was also very noticeable. And I really felt for him. Every other sub got a big hug from Smiley Fat Frank, and he just got a sort of thumbs up and the body language is leave, Ellis. Go somewhere you're loved.
I also don't want to be a prick about Sims here. The point I was making was, the point that kicked it off was, he is working hard. He's working really hard at the minute, and harder than he was at the tail end of last season. I just don't think that's what he is. I just think he happens to be in that body, but he's just not that guy. Like, he's just, and God bless him, he was putting the effort in, but nothing was sticking. He wasn't bringing anyone into play for my money, and he wasn't getting any shots. Like, he wasn't any tangible benefit out of what he was doing to work so hard. But I just feel sorry for him. I just don't think that's the striker that he is. I just think we're using him really, really badly. And that you do need somebody to do that job. I just think we should. I just certain as well that we sell him to somebody who uses him correctly and he scores 15 goals in the Championship.
Yeah,
but that team is going to have to basically be the Ellis Sims team, where their goal
How
is.
do you use Ellis Sims correctly if you don't use his size? Because the other stuff isn't standout, is it? Like, the technical stuff's definitely not standout. I mean,
I think it's a bit of a Lukaku, where like I think. Or I'll tell you what's probably a better example if you go down rather than up, is he's a bit of a Frank Noble. I don't think Sims's identity of himself is as of a big sort of barreling target man. I think he wants to be, even though he doesn't necessarily play like it, I think he wants to be played through, and I think he wants to be on the end of chances as opposed to being in the build-up of things.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, the problem with him getting played through is when he gets played
You just
through,
run onto it.
he has that touch, which then goes 90 degrees the other. Like, go forward, Ellis. Don't chop back.
But I wonder how.
technical
I
ability.
wonder how much he's acting on instruction.
I don't know if nobody's instructing his feet to do that. Like, that's just the touch is not good. I mean, I don't know how I've ended up here because I was defending him. But somehow I'm now like Ellis. I genuinely think he was up for it the other night, and he was a bit of a nightmare for them because he was proper getting involved. But like you say, it wasn't particularly tangible, but it was definitely more than we've seen before. But it does come back to the same point around technical quality. I think there's a big problem there. Like you can't, if you're not relying on the physical attributes which to get you into the good position, you've got to do something more with the ball when you've actually got it. Like they're there. That's my major problem with him. Not so much that people he's not working, because I think he is working and he's playing against players who are.
But he had no support. I mean, when Wright came on, he had Rodonian talk all around him in tight triangles.
That was really nuts.
Sims was just out there on his own with miles of grass around him.
Yeah, all the other second string. Like it's not Kai Andrews' fault, but he was definitely
no. But he can't give no.
He was the one who needed to be up there linking with him as well, and he just wasn't involved in it.
He had Brow just wandering around. I don't know where he was supposed to be. He was at one point playing some sort of centre forward role. I said, "What are you doing there? And why is Wright out on the wing? What's happened?" Extraordinary.
With 4-ish games, because obviously he's not played 90 minutes in all of them. Into Brow. Can we do some Brow chat? Have people got any Brow conclusions so far?
Well, I did feel very vindicated when he came on, not as a left back. Thank you very much. He was playing further up the wing. You all laughed at me. It was very hurtful. Otherwise, now I've got nothing. I've got nothing to give you.
Can we talk about? Can we find out whether he cuts his own hair?
No, I've seen a picture of him getting his hair cut because I'm on Instagram, so you see that stuff. Yeah, somebody's done that on purpose. Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk?
I really want his song to go on. Nobody's going to do it. The Mr. Brow song. Mr. Brow. That's his name. That name again is Mr. Brow. I don't think it's got the cadence to make it in the stands, but I would definitely sing it.
Well, I think that's what makes it so perfect.
Well, it's along the lines of your Latte Baudière song, another one which will never make it, and yet
it's probably too good.
That's often the problem with your work, Joey, isn't it? It's just too good.
So I've often referred to myself as the Van Gogh of sort of football adjacent content. 20, 30 years time after I've killed myself, of course people are going to see the value in what I've done. But at the moment, it's difficult because society hasn't developed to the point that I'm at, and we'll get there. It's fine. Well, you'll get there. I'll have done myself in by then. I love the fact that there is something sort of inherently exotic about signing the left back from Spanish La Liga 2 with the best stats in the division. And you kind of go, what's he going to be like? Largely, his role has just been to come on and do big kicks towards goal, big kicks on players. It's like he's a very agricultural player, from what I can tell, with like an insane haircut. And he's a player that very, very early doors earmarked as someone that I've got an eye on. This guy. This guy looks like a nutter to me. And obviously, I've talked a lot about wanting a few more psychos in the squad. He, like you say, left back, left wing. Who gives a shit? These are all bullshit.
Yeah, certainly not him.
Get involved. That seems to be his raison d'etre. I'm all for it. I mean, he might end up being crap, but he's
almost certainly he will be. Yeah,
he's not afraid to just get on the pitch and just see what's happening. I've got a lot of time for it so far. It's just when they like something happens and you're like, I think that was Brow, and then they pan out and you just see him. He just looks feral. Just like he just looks wild as a human. This is not. You've got that money, haven't you? Like,
the idea of just getting on the pitch and just seeing what happens. It's the best tactic. What was it? Guys, I'll give it a little go.
Guy's got a great attitude generally. He's like, what we doing? Where am I?
Football, right? Yeah.
I'm always on the left usually. Is that all right? Hang on, right. I'm just gonna. I'll bob up and down, will I? Down. Are we bibs? We not doing bibs? Oh, they've got different colours. You guys, all right, cool. So yeah, I'm excited by Brow. I'd also like to talk very, very briefly about my my Kai Andrews opinion of the week, if that's okay.
Please.
I think that Kai Andrews looks so gorgeous playing football that nobody will be able to objectively work out whether he's good or not.
It's probably a good start, though. Start from being good and looking good.
Do you know, a bit like Aaron Gunnarsson when you first saw him, and he was just like, his movements and his physicality are just so characterful. Kai Andrews is like a half horse, half man, like a sort of beautiful centaur or whatever you'd call it. And he's just such, how old is he? Like 19, 20?
Yeah.
Just, and I don't even mean like sexy. I just mean like the way that he, like his technique and everything. Just like, even as he's giving the ball away, I want to applaud it because it just looks nice. Just like a very silky looking footballer. And I was watching him and I was like, he's having a good game. And then I was like, actually, no, he's not. He just looks nice when he's playing football. And I think that people are going to, like, he's obviously got like a lot of plaudits already and people are taking a lot of notice. I'm telling you, mark my words, and it's 28th of August, 2025. Again, 20 years when I'm dead, everyone will realise that Kai Andrews was an all right footballer, but won the Ballon d'Or because people were like, this is some footballer. So there you go. That's my Kai Andrews opinion of the week. There's another one of them coming next week, of course.
Thanks, Jerry. I'm glad everyone waited 55 minutes to hear that.
Well, you know, that's fine. Do we want to talk about any more about Derby?
Can do. Great away kit. Looks good on the players, less good on people who aren't athletes. Yeah, bit stewards.
Out of context, it's a bit wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got turned up at the first game and a lot of people had it. He's like, oh, this is good security today, isn't it? Oh, hang on, no. No, just lots of people wearing the away kit.
Yeah.
I've heard CWR, Rob Gurney and the other people on there say that, or read texts that say that, and then laugh hysterically. But I've heard that about 10 times already. And
it's a good joke.
At what point is that going to? How far through the season are we going to get through where that continues to be hilarious to them?
Well, I think what's happened is you've now mentioned it, and I will never say it again. That's my rule. Like, you've mentioned it. It's like, well, I can't say that again. So we're done. Let's see if that filters out.
It is true and it is funny, right? And it was funny when you said it then. But like, if you've read 2 consecutive texts that say it, I don't think you laugh as much at the second one as you do the first one.
It's true.
Like what else did you want to talk about at Derby? What stood out to you, Joseph?
I can't remember.
Wow. Not a huge deal. But I had the best, outside of being at a game, I had the best experience of watching a football match in the world because I watched it on a beautiful beach in Gdansk, admittedly with the sound off, which made it really, really confusing. Because when you were saying before about couldn't celebrate the goals until the 4th, I watched it on a tablet, and every goal that was scored, especially for us, I was like that, just leaning dead into it because I was like, is that gonna be a goal? Like, is that? There seemed something wrong with all of them some way where I was like, is that a goal? So that really resonated with me to listen to that with no sound on as well. So to watch it with no sound on was particularly strange. I've just found the games, especially like I say, watching it on a screen with no sound, I just found it impossible to follow. I just had no idea. I don't know why it was 5-3 outside of the fact that we scored 5 goals and they scored 3.
Oh, because our defence is inept.
Any thoughts on the goalkeeper? I don't remember if that's the game that you mentioned him.
Not for me.
He's got a bit of work to do, I think. Like, I remember last season we had the Doving conversation where Dom, the classic line now, which is, can he just do some stuff now? Like do some saves. Like in pre-season, he did some stuff. He did some saves and he was catching it. He looked very good. And then he obviously made the slight error. Is he just not involved enough? And then he's just losing concentration? What's going on there?
I wondered if that was the case at QPR. Because
Yeah.
I thought he was at fault for that. But it was in the 90-plus minute and they hadn't done anything for the rest of that 90. But Derby, I thought his positioning was crap for at least one of their goals. Yeah, the first goal was bad.
Yeah.
The free kick doesn't age well on repeated watches.
No.
Like, the more you watch that, the more
but even at the time, you looked at it and you're like, I don't think he should have been there.
They don't normally score from there, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Dom, what do you think? You actually know about this kind of stuff.
I just think over the past 2 games, he's really struggled with crosses. And anything where he's been under pressure in the box. The end of the Derby game, he was flapping out a few things, and then that goal against QPR, it was just nowhere near the ball. He's completely misread it, and it gave them an easy goal. And you worry going forward that teams are just going to swing high balls into the box, because that looks like his clear weakness as a goalkeeper. I think he is a very good shot stopper, but over these first 3 games, he hasn't actually had a lot of shots to save. So he hasn't really been able to do anything to build credit in the bank. I suppose the other thing with Rushworth that I've really noticed is, okay, we've got a goalkeeper who can kick it for distance, but he just absolutely whacks the ball, and he's kicked it out of play so often. It's just like, Darwin last year just didn't kick it for distance at all. He'd gone from one extreme to another almost. He definitely needs a couple of big performances, because you see people starting to question him at the moment. You don't want as a goalkeeper, because so much of it is just down to perception, because you might only have to do 2 or 3 things a game, but you want to trust in that goalkeeper. And when we had that spell from Dovin last year when he was in really good form, it was probably only like 4 or 5 things he did over 3 or 4 games. But once you get that presence about you, it just made things a lot calmer with both the defence and I think the fans as well. So we want to see a big performance from Rushworth, and you do wonder whether kind of our style quite suits this type of goalkeeper he is, where I think he's someone who wants to be quite busy in terms of saving shots, whereas we keep a lot of the ball. So whenever he's going to be called upon, it's most likely going to be trying to claim set pieces or passing out from the back is quite a large part of his job. And I wonder whether those are quite his strengths, but it's only 3 games and that's a desperately short time to judge a goalkeeper upon.
Yeah, and as well, and again, to Imogen's point, like, it's also not, he hasn't come into a team with like a super functioning defence either. Like, these things all play a part. But 3 games is nowhere near enough. I would say I've got enough faith in people, admittedly, like you, Dom. When we signed him, you were like, this is a legitimate keeper, right? And I'm not saying I'm not being snide there. I'm saying 3 games versus trying to buy a guy for, what was it, 7 million that we were willing to pay for him when we've already got a good goalkeeper. And anyone that I know that has watched football has gone, I've seen him and he's good. I think it's probably just a bit of an aberration. It could be, like you say, a bad fit for us. I would bet by the end of the season we'd have him and go, yeah, he's all right. But that's not to say that there's not been things to worry about so far. But then chuck it on the pile. I would like to talk about some more positives more generally so far this season, if that's okay. I loved Ephron Mason-Clark against QPR. Has anyone got any thoughts on that at all?
All the way through. I think he's been fantastic this season.
Just think
he was great against Derby as well.
Yeah, I just think he did all of the really unsexy stuff against QPR, sorry, that I thought was why we were so good. All the pressing and all of the energy and the intensity setting up top and all of the sort of linky stuff. So he might not have, did he get 1 assist? I think maybe not. But that he was involved in everything. I just thought where he got taken off first, and I don't know whether it was a case of like you're in danger of just running yourself into the ground. But I just think, again, thinking about Rushworth, is after about 10 games, I try really hard. I judge from the moment that I think, but I try really hard with players to try and get 10 games under their belt before I start to form any sort of opinion. But after 10 games of seeing Mason Clark last season, I was a bit like, I'm not sure about this. Like, this is, and again, going back to the context, is he was largely out on the right and he was largely like in positions. Whereas I just think if you just let him be on the left, he's just, and tell him to do a simple job. I just think he's been really good so far at the start of this season. I'm just really pleased about that. And Milan has been really fucking good. Like,
yeah.
Like I originally I'm thinking Kesler Hayden might even be better.
And then not after Millwall.
No, as soon as I said that, I was like, hang on a second, I'm going to will us into the negative again. But the Milan, who has been brilliant for 2 years,
yeah,
but has had peaks and troughs. These first few games, you're like, well, this is the best you've played the entire time you've been here, I would say. And it doesn't even feel like a gross thing, like he's playing for a move. I just think we look better, and when we look better, he looks better.
He was terrifyingly close, it seemed to be, to a move the other day, wasn't he? I don't know if it was all on the internet, but yeah, that's on and off. You exactly.
To imagine, I've resigned myself to the fact he's going. If Wolfsburg breaks down, they're not the only team that want him. Who is it the Solskjaer managers at the minute? Is it not one of the Turkish teams? Besiktas. He'll go, I would have thought, before the end of the week. Or I just don't think you spend 5 million quid on a right back if you've already got Van Der right there. I just think he's surely going.
Yeah, it's a worry.
I assume that he's going.
Even
for those
still,
reasons.
3 assists and just you're like, this is where it's when you're attacking. What's funny is to parallel the performance against QPR at QPR last season, where he got absolutely ruined by Saito. And then think about I'm really glad if he does go that we've got these games as well, especially in light of the mistake that he made against Sunderland. I don't really think anyone cares about, do they? Because it's just, that's the sort of thing that anybody could do. And I don't think he did it really at all in the last 2 years. It's nice that if he does go, the memory will be his electric start to this season, because I do think he's been really terrific. I've been happy with Grimes, as I say.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Grimes.
Probably the best player on the pitch on Tuesday night.
He will be the best player on the pitch most of the time and won't get man of the match at all season, just because of the way that if he's the best player on the pitch, it usually means he's doing well for everybody else as well, by everybody else, and they can just rely on him. I just see he's an absolute metronome. But
from his post-match or pre-match interviews, I don't think he gives a fuck. I think he's totally fine with. He's just like, it's fine. Like, probably not, but we'll be fine. We'll be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. Just come back to me then.
Handy.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, I'm interested in Dom. Sorry to cut you off there, Imogen, but Dom was a stern critic of Grimes last season. I don't know if that has changed at all over the course of time.
I still want to see him tested with teams that are going to properly run at him and try and cause him problems. He did almost get sent off against Derby. There was the moment where he passed to someone wearing a similar colour bib to our away shirt, and then Derby broke and he just yanked someone down, and he did it a bit later. He was lucky to get away without a second yellow. But yeah, against QPR he was pleasingly aggressive, and even in the second half when QPR stuck Richard Kone on him in the number 10 position and sent every goal kick onto him, it was something I didn't really think he's having his bow to just compete with someone in the air like that. So yes, it's been a pleasing start, and I think if he's basically the player this Frank Lampard era is going to be built around, and when he plays good, the entire team does. And yeah, we just need to, you just want to see more tests, because we have to be aware that we've had a fairly friendly start to the season, and it's going to be bigger tests to come.
Yes, that does concern me somewhat. What are we going to do when we're up against people who don't let us score? Because we certainly will let them score. So,
but I think this is a Lampard question, and this is the thing that is like I'm really needling about Paul about at the moment. So Paul is very distrustful of Lampard. I'm nearer to trusting him than Paul is at the very least. He won't believe any of it. And I think this is the sort of thing that is a bit of a test of him, because I think the answer, I completely agree with all of you. I have a worry about what happens when we play against a team that won't let us dominate possession, because Matt Grimes is the guy that you have in midfield when you dominate possession. And there's a really simple answer. You play Ben Sheaf instead, right? So if you're going to come up against an away game where you think you're going to be more under the cosh, you play Ben Sheaf and you try and go longer, or you change what you do, right? But my guess would be he won't. I think he'll stick with Grimes, and that's where you're a bit like, and maybe that's because he's going to be like, no, it doesn't matter who we play. We're going to try and dominate possession, and we're going to try and do all the stuff that we would normally do. I wonder whether he is, like most managers are, tactically dogmatic, or whether he'd be prepared to flex a little bit for what you'd need. But the harrowed look on all of your faces, guys. It's Imogen, you particularly. Tell me what's going through your head.
Firstly, bring Paul back, because if he's anti-Lampard as well, then I need an ally. I don't think Lampard has a plan B. I'm yet to see any evidence that he can do anything other than win a lot of possession, flood their defence, and hope for the best, and hope that they don't go past Grimes.
But also,
and I don't think he's got a clue what to do otherwise.
I also don't think we dominate possession. I think that's what we're trying to do, but I don't really.
No, that's what I mean. That's his plan. His plan is to, whether he does or not, I don't. Yeah. And I mean, it's no secret how I find him intensely frustrating. But that really
because
concerns.
You're just as posh as he is.
Oh, I might be. I might be less posh.
Do you think?
Maybe we both have a GCSE Latin though, so you know.
Is that true?
Not all is lost. Yeah.
Well, okay.
It just. It's such a reflection of his character that if you're winning, everything is smiles and jokes and laughter, and he's this sort of like tin pot clock that as soon as you stop winning, the sulk comes out and the terse answers come in the post match. And
I feel like he's been like that even though we're winning. Or is that just when he's
possibly? I think he's been a bit. Yeah, I think he's been a bit friendlier towards Rob Gurney, although I think he's starting to work him out as well. So the friendliness levels are dropping. But I do feel it feels like that's the reflection of him is in the team, and just concerned, guys. I'm concerned if we played someone really good, like a promotion contender, like I don't know, Stoke, and they really, pushed us. I don't know how he reacts to that. We'll find out.
I think
we got next month, haven't we? So we got Leicester,
Birmingham, Norwich.
Is that 8th of November? I think is Stoke.
It's almost a year, isn't it? A year and a day.
Currently scheduled as a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff.
It's my lover departed.
That one.
I'm going to be camping out outside.
Already. I'm praying that the pair of us stay near the top of the table for that, because if we're like second and third still, That's going to be some good gear, that isn't it? That's that's some beautiful narrative.
Yeah.
Problem will be is that you two will be, and I'm looking specifically at Imogen and Neil here. You will be donning your fucking half. There's never been a time where people will buy a half and half scarf more than you two on that day. And as well, you'll probably cut the fucking cov bit off it.
I'm team Mark. Way before
I'll have
Cov,
a
obviously.
half and half Mark and Frank mask.
Oh, what a terrible thought.
Just to wind everybody up.
Face off.
Who can I annoy? I'll just annoy you all.
Bleak.
But to torture that analogy ever so slightly is that Frank's face is a mask anyway, and Robin's face is the opposite of a. Couldn't be less mask-like. Robin's was nothing if not entirely transparent. Frank, you can tell, is like a master sort of like. I agree with you, Neil, by the way, about in terms of like the post-match. I think he is deliberately, occasionally against type, and I think I think he's a terrific communicator like that. Like in terms of like a manipulator, and I mean it in a positive way. I think he knows how to play these things. I think it's grotesque. I think it's horrid, but what's it? But in terms of his skill at doing it, I think he really, really knows what he's doing. Whereas with Mark, is that you'd be like, "So, what did you think?" He'd be like, "Well, I don't care." That'd be all you'd get.
I read a couple of Mark's post-match interviews, and it's like being at home. It's like, I'm pretty much sure he said this verbatim about us. Something about working their socks off, and he said, but which was disappointing. I was like, Mark, you have been disappointed your entire managerial career. It's great. Never change.
I think we're probably close to wrapping up, but I would like to hear Neil's current take on Frank.
I think I thought before we got him, he was a good manager based on what I'd seen of him before. Like, and that's, you lose games of football and you have bad times. But I always thought he was a good leader, which is kind of what I'm looking for in a manager. And I don't think that's changed. It's a really difficult position to be in when you love the old manager and you don't ever want to see him go. And then he goes, and you can either choose to continue to be angry about it, or just say, well, okay, I'm not doing anything about that. So I'm just going to watch the new guy get us to the playoffs and I'll be all right with it. And I think he's a good leader. I think he's got a factor about him which is useful, in the sense where I think he will draw ultimately players to us, and he will draw attention to us in a slightly different way. Like, the players seem to revel and be in his company, which I feel like ultimately is going to be a good thing, you know.
Definitely.
And it, like, you just didn't quite get the same. Nobody's old enough now to be still playing and reveling in Mark Robbins's career, so it's not quite the same. But yeah, obviously, I think he's a good manager, and I don't want to wish hard circumstances on us just to see him tested, because the alternative is maybe we are just doing a good job and we're doing more to stop us being tested. And that ultimately, if you go for the season and 80% of the season you're the superior team, you got a good chance of doing something, so that's fine. But it's not like I don't have the same concerns about the plan B and that sort of stuff, because it's very obvious that we don't really shift, and that we'll see what happens. But as a thing, I've certainly embraced him as our manager, and I think he's bringing a lot. That's my thoughts.
He reminds me a little bit of the conversation that we've had over the last 2 years, I suppose, about the kind of dancing with the devil nature of being in the Premier League. In the same way that I personally would prefer to be knee-deep in piss at the football stadium that I go to, I'm aware that the other 30,000 people in there, or at least maybe 25,000 of them, would prefer salubrious circumstances. And so it's for the greater good that, of course, the stadium bought, renovated, made nicer, blah, 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 blah. Lampard feels like it fits that category for me of, most people would like us to be in the Premier League. Most people would like us to have a nice stadium. Most people would like us to have Frank Lampard. And so it's the right thing to do is to have Frank Lampard. But I can't, and he's doing empirically a very good job so far. Again, with the same king caveats of let's let the season play out after more than 4 games or whatever it is. And so that's all terrific. But, it selfish reasons, it has to be said that I prefer, the terseness and gritty grinding misery of Mark of the kind of the stage managed sort of performance era of Frank Lampard. There is something a bit kind of simultaneously compelling and positive about our rise and all of the the trade-offs that we make with that, I suppose.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, that's life. Right, so Dom, I can't be asked to copy and paste what you said earlier. Instead, if you could repeat verbatim exactly what you said now, I'll be able to have another drink and then go to bed. So fire away whenever you're ready.
Coventry, the city of the Phoenix, it was in flames, but now it rises.
Yeah, okay. Now, ironically, that was even better than what you said before. So now I'm going to have to copy and paste that at the start of the podcast. All right, cool. Right. Thank you very much, Imogen.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you, Dom.
Cheers.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Joey.
And thank you, listener. Bye.